Good morning. I just want to start the meeting with a welcome to everyone, and then also give you just some housekeeping on the webinar that we're doing. It is being recorded, so anything you say will be there. All participants will be muted. If you have any questions, there is a Q&A box down at the bottom of your screen. Go ahead and place any questions in there. We'll have a live question and answer period at the end of the celebration. We're asking people to do an attendance through the chat. So there's a chat function. It's actually right next to the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen. And if you could type in your first name and your last name, that's going to be logged as our official attendance for the start of our business meeting. So please do that now. We'll give everybody a minute. Okay, it looks like we have 33 participants that have put their name into the chat. I think we have a few more people on the call, but as time goes on, feel free to just drop your name in there so that we have a full attendance record. I want to start out the meeting by first doing a poll because I'm very interested in just seeing how many people on the call are alum of Girls Inc. Or Girls Club, which was what it was long before it was Girls Inc. So if you could just let me know if you're an alum by filling out this poll. Okay, so the poll that we have says that 31% of the people on the call are alum. And the reason I wanted to do this is because I think one of the really unique features of Girls Inc. is that if you were, as a child, someone who attended Girls Inc., you may have come back as an adult to share your new experiences, share your old experiences. And I think it's something that makes Girls Inc. really unusual and really unique. Throughout the years, Girls Inc. or the Girls Club, just by their name alone, indicated that they were an organization for girls. And that's important today as we kind of look at the climate of everything that goes on politically and just personally and everything, that we realize how important it is to continue to support girls, to really raise them up, to let them know that they can be whatever they want to be. But that was just as important 30 some odd years ago, 40 years ago, when I was attending the Girls Club. The training that we received, or the support that we received, was a little bit different then. When I came here, it was more about sewing and cooking and swimming and reading, but the girls that come now, it's more about STEM related activities and pursuing careers in STEM. But the underlying message that has been there for 105 years at least is that we support girls. And whether it's a girl who is in grade school or high school, or an adult like myself who has come back to the organization to volunteer my time, it's always been about supporting the girls and letting them know that they can do whatever they want to do, that they can be whatever they want to be, that there's no limitations as for what they can do. And that is something that not everybody gets to share as an adult with girls in the same place that they were. So I get to come back here as a volunteer and share my experiences and work with girls and let them know that some of the things that they're experiencing right now are just right now, that it is going to be different when they grow up, that when they grow up, they are going to look back and they're going to want to come back here and give back the same way that I do. because supporting girls is so important. So I think that having 31% of our participants just on this call alone be alumni really says a lot about the impact that Girls Inc. has on people's lives, because they do come back because they want to share and they want to help bring those girls up. So I think that's really unique about our organization. I want to also, at this time, start thanking people, because we cannot do what we do here at Girls Inc. without so many people showing up every day and giving 110%. The staff members that are listed here are those people that are given 110%. This list also includes staff from the summer of 2021. It's not easy to deal with the environment that we're in right now, a pandemic, and still be able to deliver to girls that same message of, you're worthy and you can do whatever you want to do, and you have it in you to conquer the world. So to our staff that does give 110%, we thank you so very much. We know how difficult your jobs are. Thank you again. I also want to take some time just to recognize a couple of staff. Jen Casey and Olivia Pastor are both celebrating 5 years with us. So 5 years, blink of an eye sometimes, right? Some other times it's, the longest 5 years of your life. I think that when you're working in an organization that is so giving and so supportive, that those 5 years go by so quick. So thank you both, Jen and Olivia. I also want to thank the board of directors. So our board of directors is amazing. They're rock stars. They volunteer so much of their time. They spend many, many hours with the girls. Again, the pandemic kind of threw us a curveball, and we weren't able to get into the building all the time to really be with the girls, but we were still able to do things remotely. And that actually made a big difference. So everybody went remote, schools went remote, businesses went remote, and we was still able to, as a board, give the direction and support the staff of Girls Inc. so that they could still support these girls. So for all of the long hours that the board puts in and for all of your hard work, thank you so very much. We have some committees that our board works on, and there's several committees. There's an executive committee, there's a finance committee, governance, fund development, a program committee, buildings and grounds, and a finance. I think I said finance, but finance deserved to be said twice, because what you're going to see today from the finance committee is amazing stuff. So the committees that the volunteers work on, the committees that the board volunteers to do work on, it's over and above the commitment that you make to these committees. We make a commitment to be on the board. As board members, we also make commitments to be on these committees, and the committees make a big difference in how this organization gets to run. So we're able to provide the support that the staff needs. We're able to provide the support that Victoria and the leadership staff needs to make decisions. So thank you for giving more than just your board commitment. Thank you so much for volunteering to also be on a committee that makes a big difference in the, not only in the organization, but really in the end, in the lives of the girls. And I have to thank the funders and the community partners for everybody that's on this call that allows us, gives us the ability to support the girls in the city of Worcester, outside of the city of Worcester. You'll be able to hear about that a little bit today. Your generosity and your dedication to Girls Inc. is really what makes a difference for us. And without our community partners, without our funders, this would be an incredibly difficult job. So thank you so very much for always supporting us, for helping to make our jobs a lot easier. And with that, I'm going to send this over to Chris Prosser, who is our Governance Committee co-chair, to present the slate of officers for this year. Hi, Chris.
Hi, thank you, Pam. Good morning, everyone. I'm happy to join all of you this morning. As Pam mentioned, I'm co-chair of the Governance Committee for Girls Inc. of Worcester. And on behalf of the Governance Committee, I am honored to present to you today the 2021-2022 slate of directors and officers who you see on this slide. I'd also like to welcome our three new directors, Marlena Duncan, Cindy Etherington, and Catherine Hahn. I'd also like to take a moment to honor our retiring directors who are Mithu Bhargava, Colleen Dowd, Laura Estefan, Marie Morris, and Tiffany Butler. Thank you all for your service, your leadership, and your courage. Your ongoing commitment, particularly over the last 18 months, has been instrumental in the success of Girls Inc. of Worcester. We look forward to your continued support as friends of the organization. And now it's my pleasure to introduce Stephen Thibodeau, who is treasurer, and he will present our 2021 financial report.
Thank you, Chris. Good morning. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Stephen Thibodeau, and I'm going into my 9th year on the board with Girls Inc. into my final year, actually. They'll kick me out after next year's annual meeting. But I have been the treasurer for the last several years. So two of the things that management and the board of directors want to hear from their auditors is that they received a clean opinion on the financial statements and there were no weaknesses in internal controls. This is exactly what we heard from our auditors, Stone Deegan, last Thursday. Congratulations to management and staff for another clean audit. So in looking at the operating revenue versus total expenses chart, you may ask, how can Girls Inc. of Worcester operate at a loss annually? I mean, we look at the last 5 years, it's consistent. Girls Inc. of Worcester relies on their endowment to cover the shortfalls. And an excellent performance in the stock market resulted in strong financial statements this year. However, the finance committee and management review monthly financials to make sure that the organization works within its investment spending policy. So we have an annual allotment that we're allowed to pull from the endowment, and we try to stay within that amount every single year to make sure that we stay on budget. The combination of generous support from our community, diligent use of investments, and management of expenses allows Girls Inc. of Worcester to continue to provide the essential services to our community. Girls Inc. of Worcester does not receive state or federal funding for services. Girls Inc. of Worcester relies on contributions and grants from private foundations, corporations, and individuals to cover the majority of our operating expenses. To accomplish the raising the money needed, Girls Inc. of Worcester has built a strong fundraising team. Organizations with significant fundraising activity will ideally have 25% or less of their organization's expenses be related to administrative and fundraising. As you can see from the chart, Girls Inc. of Worcester has been in line with this standard for the past 2 years. We had charts for the last 5 years, and we've been right about the 25% for the last 5 years as well. Without the fundraising expenses, Girls Inc. of Worcester would not be able to provide the services to raise the significant levels of revenue needed to provide these important services. Money well spent wisely is money spent well. Kudos to all involved to ensure the diligent use of funds. In closing, thank you for your continued support. Without it, Girls Inc. of Worcester would not be able to exist. Your contributions to Girls Inc. of Worcester have made immeasurable differences. Now I'd like to turn it back over to Pam. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. And thanks to the Finance Committee for all the hard work that they do to keep us on track and make sure that we're able to have the financial capability to carry this off. Thank you also to Chris and the Governance Committee for making sure that we also always have a strong board and that we always have the right people to make the right decisions all the time. So thank you so much for doing that. I just want to say another thanks to Mithu, Colleen, Laura, Marie, and Tiffany, who are leaving the board. Thank you so much for the work that you've done, the countless hours that you've volunteered here, for your concern for our girls, for girls in general, and thank you for your kindness. Like, everything that you've done has actually made a big difference, not just in girls' lives, but in our staff and the board, and we really appreciate that. I also want to just welcome Marlena, Catherine, and Cindy. I know we haven't really got off to doing a whole lot just yet, but the best is yet to come, and you're going to love it here. So thank you so much for joining us. I want to take the next few minutes to update us on our strategic plan. So it's been a journey. It's been quite a journey. 3 years ago, we announced our 3-year strategic direction, and we announced it to a room full of community leaders, corporators, funders, friends. We had board members there and the staff. And 18 months ago, we were stopped dead in our tracks. COVID had hit, the pandemic became a thing, and we were forced to shut down. So everything that we have learned through this pandemic about pivoting or reimagining or meeting girls where they are, all of those kind of buzzwords that we, or at least I've grown to not really like that much because I hear them all the time. It's brought our board of directors and our leaders together to really think about the strategic direction for the future. So it's really kind of given us the reboot that we needed. We're going to take a look at the goals and successes and what we have left to do in our strategic plan that we had announced. Back in 2018, Girls Inc. board and staff, we engaged more than 100 stakeholders from across the community to come help us build a bold strategic plan. So we're very used to being bold. We needed the help of the outside to really help us hone in on what was important for our strategic direction. We had a capital campaign that was coming to a close, and we knew that we had to think big. It was time for us to really reorganize and what was going to be our next steps. And little did we know how important the goals and outcomes would be in 2020. We weren't 100% sure what the pandemic was going to hold for us, but we were able to actually begin to see how all of the work that we had done was really beginning to make a difference through a pandemic. Despite the shutdown, we still had growth. So pre-COVID, March 2020, we were on track to meet our growth goals that we had dictated in the strategic plan. We had mission critical responses. We had to respond to the needs of the girls during the pandemic. We did that with the Girl Pad program, Girls on the Run. We started Eureka JV. Eureka has always been 8th grade to 12th grade. We reached out a couple of years earlier and started a Eureka JV program. The Learning Hub, the incredible building, the room within our building that is just absolutely amazing. Virtual programs became something that we did. Girlology, laptops as shower gifts to the girls going to college. All of that information, all of these responses that we had helped us with our growth. And probably the most recent one is our expansion of the Eureka program into Metro West for fiscal year 22. So in collaboration with the SMOC at their Framingham Center, we're launching the very first Eureka cohort in fiscal year 22. So this is really big news for us. It's really something that we've done a lot of planning. The leadership team has done a lot of planning, and just kind of thought process into what that direction means to go into this another area, another geographical area for us. From a capital standpoint, we completed that 5-year capital campaign. We had $5 million, no delays, no debt. Kind of in the world of construction, kind of a win, a huge win. The Saint-Gobain Technology Center was unveiled. We had a ribbon cutting in the fall of 2021. There was a new HVAC system and fire system, and we met and exceeded all of our goals. The internet was at full capacity. We renovated the pool and the locker rooms, the gym, the kitchen, the lobby, security. There were so many different pieces that we were able to work on with this capital campaign. One of the things that became very evident over the last year was that the work that we did with the capital campaign, some of it wasn't always so visible to everybody who walked into the building because the HVAC system sits on top of the roof. So it's a lot of money that was spent on that one particular piece, but it's not something that everybody could look at, kind of like the Saint-Gobain Technology Center where you walk in and you're just oohing and ahhing over the fact that it exists and it's so beautiful. So you don't see the HVAC system. However, in 2020, as the pandemic ramped up and we had to reduce the amount of girls that were in the building, but still have girls in the building so that they could continue their commitment to school, we realized that the work that was done in the HVAC system was so incredibly important to the air in the building, right? So we were able to really see a huge benefit immediately from that 5-year program. So that was very helpful for us. It really made that win situation even better. We made a giant leap when we started the capital campaign. And as that was accelerated, we had to work with COVID. We had to work around that. We had improved employee relations. We had diversity, equity, and inclusion goals that we had to start working with. Employee engagement became a big thing. You know, everything that we were doing over the last year was heightened because of the pandemic. So being able to engage people more, making sure that our DEI goals are being met, all of that became very important. And we had financial sustainability. So from the treasurer's report that Steve just gave to us, you could see that we managed the expenses and leveraged the income to end the fiscal year on a positive note. That was not an easy task. That was something that everyone had to work at. During the pandemic, being able to have a surplus at year end was really important, and it really showed the financial kind of health of the organization. So thanks to many people on this call, we have doubled our fund development operating income over the past 9 years, and we hope to do that. We hope to continue that into the future. We also had awareness during this time. Advocacy is a really big deal for girls. Being able to host a statewide legislative luncheon and have girls attend those luncheons, taking girls to the State House to meet with state reps and senators. Not only are we getting our views out there and showing that advocacy is important and making sure that, you know, the collaboration that we've had with the community, the Worcester Public Schools, their comprehensive sex ed curriculum, making sure that all of that we had a voice in that. We did that by taking the girls to the State House, having that luncheon, but also by doing that, we were showing girls, we're teaching them every step along the way. Like, this is how we get things done. And as you leave Girls Inc. and you go to college and you get into the workforce, continue this on, because this is what really needs to happen all the time. We successfully reinvented girl-led lunch and learns. So if you had a Friday afternoon at noontime, if you wanted to jump onto a call, you could actually get onto a call with girls from Girls Inc. and just be blown away by the topics that they were covering and the talks that they were doing on a regular basis. With all of this, we've made considerable advances to advocacy at the state and the local level. And at the same time have been teaching the girls, this is how we get things done. So how did all of this happen? Because of you and all the stakeholders, everybody on this call, everybody who has that is invested in Girls Inc., our 2019 through 2022 strategic plan has been successful, and we cannot thank you enough. I'm going to turn it over now to Victoria Waterman, our CEO, because we have a new strategic plan in place, and we're hoping that this one will be, and we know it will be, just as strong as the last one. Hi, Victoria.
Hi, Pam. Thanks, everyone, for coming to our 105th annual meeting. I'm so proud to be part of this incredible organization and community. I mean, let's face it, I have the best job in the world. So let's get started looking forward now. We started mapping out a new strategic direction. And when we did this, we approached scenario planning from two perspectives. Number one, what does success look like post-COVID for our girls? We explored what girls need now so they don't fall behind in school today, and that when the time comes, they'll be ready and prepared for college and the workplace. Number two, what does our organization need to support our scenario planning? Our board and staff had meaningful discussions and landed on the following strategic imperatives: program strategy, culture of employee engagement and diversity, equity, and inclusion, sustainability and risk management, infrastructure and preparedness, and board development. So let's start with the program part of this, the most important. As you've heard, we were on track to meet our growth goal of doubling the number of girls we serve, and then entered COVID and it all stopped. The regulations for social distancing and sanitizing has resulted in never imagined increase in expenses to serve a fraction of the girls that we served in the past. And yet we know that the girls and families we've touched, however small the numbers or large, has made an enormous impact in their lives. And with this inspiration, our goals are to balance quality and growth. So some of the things that are changing. First, the most immediate and urgent needs of girls are focused around their mental health. Sadly, waiting lists range from months to years for youth to get counseling services that they're in dire need of. For the first time, we are bringing on a credentialed director of case management to our staff to help in the prevention and accessibility for girls in crisis. We're reaching more girls by offering new and innovative programs, thinking outside of the box a little by having programs in the evenings, weekends. This is our way to serve girls in safer and smaller groups in our newly renovated center. One shining example is our Learning Hub that hosted girls to attend school remotely on our premises. This allowed 60 girls to have help logging into school. They got a nutritious breakfast and lunch. Gym was in the pool or outside. That was pretty cool. And 60 sets of parents could go to work every day. Another is our expansion in Worcester County and beyond. Our Eureka program is scalable, replicable, and portable to bring to more communities. But here's what's not changing. Our mission to inspire all girls to be strong, smart, and bold with our research-based curriculum. So let's look at the culture of DEI. So we've talked a lot about employee engagement. And I can imagine that whether you work as a camp counselor, an accountant, or a CEO, your work environment has also changed. It's no different here. Stepping up to the call from employees everywhere to redefine what a great place to work looks like, we're taking this very seriously. We applaud our staff who've shown up through the most challenging environments, who deserve our respect. So can we pause for a moment and get a little love for our staff? Go to the reactions. You know, who doesn't love emojis and high fives and hand clapping and smiles? Or put it in the chat, whatever it is. Please communicate however you can how much you appreciate our staff, who's the best ever. Thanks. So to address organizational changes that need to happen, we start with our girls, as with everything we do. So there are a couple of actions that I'm especially proud of. One is around our leadership team, who dedicated really ourselves to a very intensive 6-month learning and training program. And I strongly believe it has to start at the top. If the leadership team is not on the same page, if it doesn't start from there, then it's really an uphill battle. We're examining every part of the organization and have already put forth meaningful changes to families. So an example is that we identified that families often forego applying for financial aid because the process is just too hard. So we removed the obstacle. We're piloting a new and innovative solution. For our after-school programs this year, we're not requiring formal financial aid forms to be submitted. Rather, we're asking families to self-select a daily fee they can afford. This cuts out the red tape and saves us all time and money, and it's working wonderfully. So the next is around sustainability. And let's face it, unprecedented times have called for extraordinary measures. Our community has come together in the most meaningful ways of support. Our funders have gone above and beyond to assist organizations like Girls Inc. of Worcester to courageously do the frontline work. Although there are too many supporters to mention, some examples of generosity include lifting restrictions, lessening reporting, covering overhead expenses, and much more. One of the ways this has been a huge impact to our families is to pass all of this generosity directly to them by offering free or drastically reduced programs. For example, thanks to grants, contributions, and donations, our girls were able to attend a week of summer camp for as low as $35 a week, as compared to $120 in pre-COVID years. That's thanks to all of you and your generosity. We're grateful for the confidence you've placed in us and recognize that this speaks volumes to your investment in our sustainability. We take great pride having earned this respect and are committed to managing expenses and diversifying funding sources. I want to take a minute also to talk a little bit more about fund development and from the scheme of what a quirky world we live in. Up until really COVID, nonprofits were judged very much on the amount of money that went directly to girls. And looking at that in terms of how little went to overhead and went directly to programs. So all of a sudden in COVID, this business model turned absolutely upside down. And the expenses for the extra cleaning, staff support, sanitizing went through the roof. And frankly, it cost as much to serve 60 girls as it did 160 girls. And it's an interesting world that we're living in right now. And we're hoping this will help to change the perception of how nonprofits are really feeling the pinch and how important it is to have unrestricted funding to help us in everything that we need. And while we're talking about fund development, let's get a high five for our fund development team, who is working hard behind the scenes. Jen, Rediot, Michelle, Katrine, you can't see them, but they are making this whole presentation happen seamlessly and smoothly. So great job to all of them. All right, now let's moving on to board development. This could be one of my favorites. So the board leaders themselves got together and said, how can we be more effective to this important work? How can we build a better board? Because for the past 18 months, they're hearing about the challenges of our frontline staff who are putting themselves really at a vulnerable position every single day. And the board leaders are saying, we need to do more. We need to do more. And so, led by the board of directors, we'll be codifying our best practices and procedures to build a legacy of board leadership that won't get lost or forgotten. So for all of you past board members and corporators on the call, I think you'll be happy to hear all of that as well. And finally, we're going to examine our four walls, both literally, metaphorically. On one hand, we're way ahead of the curve. Who would have thought back in 2015 that would be critical for our program and service continuity in 2020 to already have in place a new HVAC system with hospital-grade air filters and high-functioning access to internet and a technology center. Thanks to this strengthened infrastructure, we were able to adapt relatively quickly to set up employees remotely and design hybrid and virtual programs. So I'm not sure how much you can see behind me, but over here we have these very cool 3D laser printers. We have these virtual reality tools over here, headsets and so forth. And then behind me down there are drones. You can see laptops and Google Chromebooks all over the place. It's amazing. It's amazing. So on the other hand, we want to continue thinking about potential disasters and what we can be doing today to prevent obstacles in reaching the girls who rely on us. We've learned a lot from this pandemic and realize that how blessed and grateful we are to be in the position we're in. And nobody could have ever predicted a pandemic, let alone other disasters. So we're going to be focusing on that as well. There's a lot here. Somehow saying it out loud just makes it all seem even more ambitious. But wait, there's more. We've known for decades that outdoor play has a positive impact on the physical and mental health of children. But who would have predicted the unique value of outdoor spaces as safe haven for kids during a pandemic? This summer, our Camp Kennywood provided 125 girls with access to fund outdoor activities such as swimming, kayaking, and boating. During this time, our thoughtful and responsive program safety measures kept transmitted COVID-19 cases at 0. I spent a day at camp this summer, and I very intentionally picked the day that the 10-year-olds would be out at camp because they generally tend to be at the same height as me, and we tend to be in the same, water at the same pace. So I jump in lane 2, which is in the middle, and that's my comfort zone, and I'm all by myself. And I'm saying, where is everybody? Well, they're all in lane 3. Which is where the advanced swimmers are, because this summer they learned how to swim and their skills were so good that they made the swim tests at the highest level. And here I am all by myself in lane 2. So one of our lifeguards said, any friends want to jump in with Victoria? And so she's not alone. But can you imagine that? That was such a visual that I'll never forget. That all of our girls at that age range have become experienced swimmers throughout the summer. That's amazing. We don't see the importance of camp experience going away. Does anyone else? So time is now to invest in the overdue repairs and renovations to the existing building and grounds. We're looking at a couple of a roadmap to get us there. The first is we're looking at a professional assessment to look at the safety, critical needs, and accessibility for camp. We had a professional come out and do an assessment, and the ballpark there right now is around $250,000 to be done over 3 years. That's just to bring it up to, like I said, code and safety. The next is, let's use this opportunity to think about some reasonable camp improvements and utility of this camp space. So we're bringing together a task force of experts consisting of camp experts right down to our girls, staff, and alumni, rethinking how can we utilize this space and have it be, again, reasonable, conservative ways that we can improve the camp experience. So all of that will come out early next year. And then we'll be raising funds and hope to start renovations in fall of 2022. How exciting is that? So I'd love to thank all of you at this time. I think we're wrapping up, and ask that you continue to join me in bringing Girls Inc. of Worcester to yet another great new level to benefit our girls, and to think about how you want to be involved, how you want to continue to be a lasting legacy in this incredible story of Girls Inc. of Worcester.
Thank you, Victoria. That is a strong, smart, and bold, everything that you said. I'm so proud to be part of this. I want to thank everybody on behalf of the board. Thanks to our funders, our corporators, our staff, volunteers, allies, friends that are on the call. We cannot do this without you, and your existence and concern is what inspires us to continue moving forward. And for that, we are so very thankful. I want to leave, there's a couple things that are going to happen. There's going to be a question and answer period at the end with the staff, so stay on for that. And then there's also going to be a quick virtual tour of the building if you want to see that. You don't want to miss it. It's amazing. But I do want to leave you with this one quote, because I think volunteering, whether you're volunteering your time, whether it's your donations, like whatever it is that you're giving to us, this is the way that I see volunteering. It's one of my favorite quotes, and it is that when you are a volunteer, you don't get paid. But it's not because you're worthless. It is because you're priceless. And each and every one of you on this call, that's you. You are all priceless to us. And we thank you so very much from the bottom of our hearts.
From my first day at Girls Inc. of Worcester, I knew it was a place I could call home.
As a leader, I want to help other girls who were shy like me to become strong, smart, and bold.
To me, strong, smart, and bold means doing everything they say we can't. Girls and women have the power to change their future.
Having a mentor gave us positive role models who helped us when we needed it most.
I've been in the Eureka program for a couple months now, but so far I've learned how fun it is to be a part of STEM.
Because of Girls Inc., I've gained incredible knowledge and experience in my passions, and I feel more than ready to put forth that creativity in the real world.
Ooh, the pool looks igniting.
Yes, that's my favorite place to be. Absolutely. Excellent. I think we're all here. We'll kick it off to Victoria to welcome everyone.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back. I'd like to introduce you to key members on our senior leadership team. Jen, who introduced herself, Jen Madsen, can answer a lot of questions. She's been here many years, but she heads up our fund development, senior director of fund development. And Allison James, who's on my right, is the COO and oversees all the program operations. So we're using this opportunity for you to ask questions, and they are happy to answer.
So I have a few questions already in the queue that were sent over privately. If anyone wants to start adding questions into the Q&A or into the chat directly, I can also, if you want to ask it out loud, just type it in the chat and I can promote you so you can say it out loud. But the first thing is, what does a typical day look like for one of our girls in 2021?
I can take that. So let's see. So after school has started, so they'll come in off the bus, or we've been meeting them at their bus stops. So they can come in, they can have a healthy snack provided by Friendly House down in our new cafe in our new kitchen area. So that's really great. And then they can go up to their classroom, and then they have a different schedule every day on different activities they'll do. So they'll do Girls Inc. National curriculum, could be around financial literacy or STEM, and they can use our technology center. They always have time for physical activity, and a couple times a week they're able to use the pool. And I can tell you that our enrollment on the day that the pool's open is really high. So we're serving around 70 girls every day after school here, from kindergarten through the teen years. So the teens are coming to hang out as well. They can also join our theater program, mentoring, academic support, swim lessons. There's just a variety of things for them to do.
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much. I guess, Victoria, maybe you can answer this question that came up. What are some lessons learned from this past year that continue to influence and support our work today?
I think one of the silver linings that has come about is by asking employees who we've never asked about how to do things. And so we have learned a whole new perspective on things. So all of a sudden we're in a situation to say, okay, we can't do things the way we've always done them. So staff, how should we do them? We're not asking you to do things the way we've always done them. How should we do them? Wow. When you ask people what they think how things should get done, because we're not doing them the same old way, that's when the magic happens. That is when the innovation starts. That's when all these new great programs have started, that we wouldn't have had the opportunity or time or luxury to stop and think about how do we do things differently.
That's great. Thank you so much. I have a couple more. Please keep them going in the chats. I know I'm getting a lot of direct messages, but one of the ones that that I can answer is, can we still volunteer? And I'll say yes and no. Yes, definitely. We are always looking for volunteers to help support. It's just we have to be adaptable and the way in which our volunteers can go. So those in-person volunteer opportunities are few and far between, if at all, right now, especially as we move into the winter months and there's less outdoor accessibility. But we absolutely do have virtual volunteer opportunities, and there's always opportunities for you or your corporation or organization, wherever you work or live or group that you're a part of to get involved and help to fundraise. We're currently looking for volunteers, and we'll send out information about this to help with our stocking up on books party and our holiday wish list, where we provide lots of nice warm winter gear that's brand new and a ton of books, brand new books for our girls for the winter months. So absolutely, and if you're interested, please definitely email me directly. I'll put my email in the chat if anyone has any questions, but we'll also email it out to everybody after the meeting. So one of the other questions I got, maybe Allison, you can take this one on, is how are we dealing with the transportation crisis? This is not just a Worcester issue; it's a national one, certainly. Can you tell how we're doing that?
Yeah, this has definitely been a crisis for sure. So about 30 of our families that thought they were enrolled for after school didn't have access to transportation to come to our facility. So like I mentioned before, we are going out to different bus stops that are pretty local, I guess maybe a half a mile or so. And then we are also getting our vans up and running to have the appropriate registration to be able to do a bus route. So it's been difficult. A lot of families are dropping the girls off here and then going back to work. So our staff are really killing it, and they're going out rain or shine to pick these girls up off the bus at the bus stop. So it's definitely been a challenge.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Victoria, just because you brought it off before, maybe you and Allison can both talk about, one of the questions was, what will go into some of the improvements at Camp Kennywood, and why are you doing those now?
I can talk about why we're doing them now. Is the timing is that the renovations have been overlooked for really, frankly, many years, especially as you can imagine. We just completed a $5 million renovation here in the building. Prior to that, we did a complete renovation of the camp caretaker house. And now a lot of the buildings are really in need of repair. But never have we ever experienced so much demand, need, benefit of a camp experience. And so now is the time. There's not a question, oh, is camp good for girls? Is camp good for youth? Is outdoor and nature good for kids? Yes, we know that. And that, so I can talk about the timing of it. So Allison, maybe you can talk about some of the things we're thinking about.
Yeah. So like Victoria said, now's the time for our girls to, we know they need to be outside. We know that it helps build relationships when they're out in a camp setting. So team building type activities, we are going to be renovating a lot of the buildings to get them up to, new roofs and things like that. But that's the goal of the camp task force, is really to take a look at what is going to be the best fit for our camp and for our girls. We know that this summer, I know that Fred Daniels is on this call, and we had teen girls out there on Friday evenings, over 20 girls that would choose to go out there and spend their Friday nights there. So we know that this is a place that's going to and help them build relationships that they were missing while at school. I do know that talking to other organizations, the behaviors were much better outdoors than they were in the facilities that people had. And so that's the goal, is just to get the girls outside more.
Now, I also want to add that Girls Inc. of Worcester is a visionary organization. We're always thinking ahead. And we can't just sit and think about how we're going to get through COVID and crisis and so forth. We've got to be moving ahead. And this is the obvious thing, and how we're going to get there. So, we never, who knows, that people doubted a $5 million renovation here in our building, but here we are. And it's important. It's important that we continue to look ahead. And I always say, in 10 years, what's the conversation going to be about girls? Hopefully not the same as today. Hopefully in the next decade, we're going to make some significant strides, significant improvements. And Girls Inc. of Worcester is going to play a critical, important role in getting there. We can't stop. We got to keep going. And it's time for camp.
Is there any last questions? I think that was a really phenomenal, inspirational place to end. I want to do one last screen share with everyone and to stay on. Just do a little quick tour of the facility through video, and we want to say thank you all so much for coming and attending. And we'll send this recording out. So thank you all so much. I'm going to do last screen share, and then we'll see you all at the next event.